Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video, we are going to take a look at painting a BladeGuard Veteran Primaris Marine, and we are going to paint him in a Brazen Claws color scheme. The model has been left off the base, and as you can see here, I left the shield arm separate from the model, so we'll paint him in two sub-assemblies. I've left him off his base just so that in case I need to, get into some nooks and crannies and that kind of thing. So that's the only reason for that, really. He was given a primer of gray from Stanores using a Patriot 105 at around 25 psi, and here I'm going to use some Administratum Gray Patriot 105. I'm going to use some MIG ammo acrylic thinner here just to thin the color down just a hair. And basically what we're going to do is we are going to create a zenithal pre-shade on this model, and I was just demonstrating there that we're going to spray it at a 45-degree angle. You do not want to spray any more than that, basically like, more like a 90-degree angle or anything like that. I mean, 90-degree being from the side as opposed to coming straight down at the top. That's fine, but if you're spraying from the sides, you'll end up filling in areas. And we want some of that darker gray to remain in the darkest points. Here I'm just demonstrating that we are going to apply this to the shield as well. And where I have it clamped off, I will work on that back area as well, get some paint onto those areas. Once that's all dry, we're going to jump over to some white scar, and we're going to use a Renegade Chrome because we can get a little bit more precise. We're going to spray it around just under 20 psi. I'm going to use some thinner here. Basically with the thinner, it's more like a 1-to-1, so it's actually quite a bit of thinner in the paint. And with this, basically, I just start to slowly concentrate and build up the color. I put a little spot of white on the end of the little engine nozzles on the backpack, top of the the shoulder pad, top of the helmet, spraying down at the toes, as well as spraying right from the kneecap downwards. And basically just allow the color to kind of build up. Now, I'm spraying at some of these areas a little steeper than a 45-degree angle. It's probably more like a 10 to 20-degree angle kind of thing if we're really concerned about angles. You just want to really kind of basically keep it fairly steep so that the paint is spraying kind of straight downwards, emulating like a light source right above the guy kind of thing. On the shield here, I'm going to spray it straight down the face on both ends of the shield. Here you can see I'm slowly building up. Now, when we have this much thinner in our paint, we want to keep the PSI actually around that 20 mark because it just seems to flow out a lot better. It doesn't come out all speckly or anything like that. And you really want to build up to the effect. You don't want to, accomplish it in one go because it can just end up being kind of thick and, unnecessary. We're going to jump over to some Flesh Terrors Red. This is Citadel Contrast. And as I was laying it down on this first portion here, now for some of you who are not familiar with the Brazen Claws color scheme, it is a quartered type of color scheme. It's it's two colors, but in 4 different quadrants on the model. There was a little dampness on my brush, and you'll see how the paint is pulling away from the top of the foot and the knee and the top of the shin and everything like that. And I actually thought that was kind of interesting, and it was not my intention. I didn't realize that I had that much water in my bristles as I was doing that. And so for anybody out there who ends up, having the same kind of thing happening on your model, that's probably what's happening is you got a little too much paint or too much water in the bristles, and it ends up diluting the paint a little bit. Now, doing that deliberately, we can demonstrate that in a future video if need be. Of course, leave a comment down below if that's the kind of thing you want to see. I think I've demonstrated that sort of thing before, but we can always demonstrate it again, especially doing, fun little Space Marine schemes such as this. Here I'm simply using a nice sharp detail brush to draw the lines, and on the torso there is kind of like it's a bifurcated color, so one half will be red and the other half will be blue. We'll get to the blue shortly. With the contrast, you may notice that the paint goes on once it's kind of sort of dry, especially on the big flat surfaces. It looks a little bit textury where you can see your brush strokes. It's kind of unavoidable, but you can make that work to your advantage. Like I said, if you thin it out and deliberately kind of almost like a stippling motion, create some texture on the surface. And it's a quick way to create a really interesting look on the models without doing a lot of work. Here I was just simply demonstrating doing this quartered color scheme on the shield. I was using the little light doodads on the shield to work out where the coordinates were. And then here I'm just simply stippling on, well, I lay it down heavily, but then I use my brush and just create a bit of a stippling motion to draw out the color and create a slight texture, just so it's not too, too much brush strokiness. Next, we're going to jump over to Leviathan Blue, and this is for the other quadrants of the model. I'm leaving the helmet white, as everything I was seeing for Brazen Claws. The veterans, which I assume the BladeGuard are veterans, they have white helmets and white chest eagles, so I was leaving those white. Spoiler alert. With this, same kind of thing, a fairly generous amount when you apply this and work it around the model. We do have to be a little bit more careful. Now, the whole reason why I laid the red down first is because it's not quite as dark as, say, this blue. This blue actually is kind of like, if you're on the Citadel side of things, it's more like Cantor blue with Drakov Nightshade kind of thing. It's like that kind of end result, as it were. Same with like the red. The red is more like Mephiston red with Carbon Crimson as the shade. It's kind of, contrast is really fun for creating, like a two birds with one stone kind of thing. It's just, it gets you both effects really fast. If that's the kind of finish you're looking for, well then, we can pretty much leave this as is here. But as I was saying, doing the red first and then laying the blue on, the blue we can always shore up the line. And if we mess this up, well then we'd have to come back and clean it up with opaque colors. So you do want to try and be a bit more deliberate in your brush strokes as you lay this color down. So as I am meeting the blue up next to the red, I'm trying to be very deliberate and accurate as I do it, but anywhere else I just kind of slap the paint down. And again, on the shield and on the armor, I do finish it off with a bit of a stippling just to create an interesting look. But otherwise, that will be it pretty much for laying this color down. And you can see here, it's just, really, really fast. It's very, very interesting. I actually kind of really dig this color scheme. Actually, it's a lot of fun. Here, I'm just simply coming in at the shield on his chest. And I'm just going to freehand in the quarter design on the shield here. And so very carefully, I lay the red down first. Again, following the same kind of philosophy in which I had done on the Marine itself. Anywhere where, like it's going to, where the red and blue are going to meet up next to each other, I lay the red down first so that any mistakes can be hidden by the blue. Unfortunately, if we make any mistakes with the blue, it's a little bit harder to clean up. Not harder, but we do have to take more steps, basically just laying more color down, and we'll have to switch over to more opaque colors. But if you are fairly confident in your ability to lay this color down in nice even lines, and of course the contrasts work really, really well, especially even using very precise brushes and such, and you can draw really neat lines. And in fact, contrast paints are really, really fun in that way, that you can use it in many fashions. This is good for base coating. It's good for edges. It's good for, detail work. It's really, really fun stuff. It's a really saturated color that has a very thin body to it. Flows almost like an ink. But that is it. Stay tuned for part 2 as we work on highlights. And we're also going to take that up way further. Big thank you to my patrons. Without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below. You'll be taken off to a magical website called Patreon, where there are varying tiers of support. Take care of those brushes, and they will take care of you.